the career or the business problem, in big inverted commas, is nothing more than the context that that person has behaved, their unconscious patterns within. And for a lot of people, it may well be about recognizing that that in itself is not the reality. That's not causing you to be stuck. I'm stuck in this job because I have to pay my mortgage.
Hi, my name is Vindhya V. This is Art of the Extraordinary, the podcast for those of you who's ready to play a much bigger game and leave an extraordinary legacy behind. I'm glad you're here, and it's time to make your quantum leap. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I hope you are doing great no matter which part of the world that you're listening to this podcast from. Now today, my special guest is Lawry Scandar. He is a psychologist, and he's been a psychologist for 35 years. He's a sociologist, a speaker, a corporate and a community consultant, and an author. And also, he's an educator who has been invited to speak and work with countless organizations, companies, and community forums. Lawry is one of Australia's leading MindShift experts with a unique ability for helping people release the mental and emotional obstacles that block them from achieving their very best in life and business. The impact of his work has spanned across many countries and continents and continues to grow. Lawry is driven by the belief that each of us has the will and the right to live a life fulfilled, doing what we love and making a difference in our own life and the lives of our families and those in any communities that we touch. Now, as you can tell, this is going to be a very, very different episode to the ones that we have had so far. I am very excited to have Lawry. I've known him for a while. He is also a friend of mine. You are in for a treat. You're going to get a lot of stuff that you probably haven't even heard, and you will get some things that you can go and apply right away in this episode. He has changed thousands of lives. I know how powerful his work is, so I'm really looking forward to this episode. So without further ado, let's jump into our interview.
I'm currently, as somebody put it to me a few weeks ago, about to enter my third trimester of life and looking forward to it. And I guess that means that I should have heaps and heaps of story behind me, and I think I do. So who am I in essence? At the moment, I'll work backwards. I'm a guy who's, in the last few years, has gone through a little bit of an awakening and a rebirth of who I am, what I'm doing, how I'm making a difference in the world and for myself. And I think that's a big part of what I'm experiencing with people that I come across, particularly around my age group. Having come from having a really successful business, I've still got, and I will maintain a beautiful, successful marriage. We've been together 35 years or so, two great young men, our kids, in their mid-late 20s. And I've gone through this whole thing of, we've had a financial crisis. In our lives, we've had some emotional upheaval over the last 8 to 10 years. We've had some financial upheaval, and business has essentially been impacted. So it's been a little bit of a journey to work my way through that. And rather than thinking about how do I get things back to the way they were, the awakening for me is it's time to actually build anew with my old head and my old experiences as my foundation stones. I am a psychologist, been practicing psychologist for about 35 years or so, actually about that time. And a lot of the work that I have done and I used to do a lot of work in the corporate world, have my own consultancy for about 25 of those years. I've worked in and out of the corporate sector, multinationals, and in my own business, consulted back to them and consulted to a number of the larger government departments, running a lot of the very intensive leadership development work. But of late, a lot of the work I'm doing is more within the community, people who may well work in those organizations, but have recognized that they want to step up into what I call their own personal power. And they come across the blockages that I guess in my own life I've also experienced, and they need someone to journey with them. And that's a lot of what I'm doing with people these days.
One of the things that keeps coming up in our conversations as well. Oh yes, for our viewers, just a little bit of backstory. So I know Lawry from before this interview. Like we know each other, we talk a lot, we know about each other as well, right? So
And we're not
I'm
telling
trying
you
to.
all those stories, are we?
No, we're not. Probably not. Well, we'll try to, share as much as we can, as long as it helps our audience today. So one of the things that keeps coming up is that you have a passion to help people rediscover their steps into being in their full potential and discovering that and being in their personal power. Why is that important to you?
Um, I guess if I look at it from my own life experience, let alone the work I'm doing with people, one of the things that I know I've been bumping up against, and I do experience this with a number of people as well, is I talk about the wake up call that a lot of people have, where you wake up one day and it's like, I've done the career thing, I've done the business thing successfully or otherwise, I've done the relationship thing successfully or otherwise, and I've been blessed with success there, and happiness in that. I've bought the toys, I've lost the toys, made the money, lost the money. And then there's this realization of, but what have I really got to show for my life? I'm not feeling fulfilled. I'm not feeling like I'm on purpose doing what I really love. I'm transacting. And I'm really not sure that whatever I'm doing is making a difference that just satisfies me. And so there's this longing. And I looked at that, and over many years, I've come to an awareness that, a lot of us, and I know I have, we play small, we play safe, we play within our own self-limiting beliefs as to who we think we are. And there's a deep craving in so many people that says, there's more to me, and how on earth do I step up into this, and go through the fear and anxiety of, what if I fail? What if I'm not good enough? Well, that's just nothing more than a belief. And that's the personal power step up that I'm finding more and more people are getting to that point of awakening. And then they're either absolutely scared of, what do I do now? Or they're confused, or they simply don't know what to do from there. And they just need to have some help along the way, some coaching, some mentoring, some guidance. So that's what I mean by about personal power. You've heard me say many times, for me, the flip side of not playing small doesn't mean we have to play big in life. In fact, that's daunting. But it does mean that maybe we can play more significantly, more purposefully. And that's the shift that I keep talking about. That's the stepping up into your power. Making some sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Something that I really like hearing when you say it, I think I've heard you saying it, or maybe I'm just imagining, don't know which one it is.
Well, we'll make
um,
it.
is that significance is a choice. Can you speak to that, or am I imagining it?
No, no. Well, I think you and I have in different ways over
Yes.
our connections, spoken around that. Well, and directly to it. Yeah, it is an absolute choice. Um, let's just come back to some fundamentals. What is the experience of playing safe or small? For most people, we'll all have our own version of this story. Oh, I'm not smart enough to do any more than what I'm doing now, so I'll just keep at it. And I guess I'll have to be happy with my lot. There's an example of playing safe. That's a story that a version of which may resonate with some of the people listening in. I know it does with a lot of my clients and a lot of people I bump into. And it may sound like, I know I really want to achieve so much more, but really I'm getting a bit too old for that. I'm playing safe again. I'm playing within my self-limiting beliefs. So this thing of significance is really fascinating, because what actually happens is that there's a feeling of lack, a feeling of there's something missing in my life, in how I am creating whatever I'm creating. I'm not achieving what I really want. I'm just achieving what I believe I'm capable of. And the difference between those two positions is huge. I think that's the key. As you know, I spend a lot of time with people just setting their direction and their goals and their intentions. And one of the things I ask them is are you setting your focus on what you believe you're able to do, or what you truly want to do? and they look at me strangely, and there's a part of them that doesn't quite know how to answer because they actually know that the answer is, I'm still playing safe. So it's about how much of that sense of not enough do you want to keep living with? And not everyone gets to the point where they want to do something about it. This is not a journey for everyone. It's easy to say everyone has this capacity, but not everyone gets to this point of awakening. But when you do, and when I have, then you really start focusing on what is in my way, because I know that there's a journey ahead of me. And that's critical to actually work with someone to help you work that through.
Well, this actually reminds me of about a conversation I had a few months ago with a girl. I don't know whether I told you this story. Basically, I was having conversations, and she was pretty unhappy with what she was doing in the job, and she was just miserable as. So I started kind of tapping into the kind of work you do, and tapping into figuring out what she wants to do, and what does she really feel passionate about. And so we had one session, and she had, it felt like, she was really trying to tap into what she's really meant to be doing. And then we had a second session, and then she was like, oh my God, I felt horrible after the first session. I was like, wait, what? That makes no sense. She's like, yeah, you got me to think all these, you gave me hope, and you got me to think all these things that I could possibly be doing, and I feel horrible. I was like, wait, hang on. How does that make you feel horrible? To see that from the culture that she comes from, she's been conditioned to think that if you hope or if you wanted something more than you already have, that's a bad thing. That's a negative thing.
Yeah.
So she has all these goals and dreams, but she's just been putting them in like a pressurized box and just keeping it there. And she just shut the lid. That's it. I think a lot of people do that.
A lot of people do, and it sounds like, in her example, this might not be the right words for her, but it sounds like what she's got is a whole lot of limiting belief. That's almost about, I've been brought up to feel and believe that I'm not entitled to all of this. Like, it's wrong. So, this is this whole thing about, think about it this way. When we're born with no beliefs. Zero beliefs. We have some instinct, usually around what are the two main things that we fear when we're born. Usually people say it's loud noises. So a baby will respond to a loud noise in a startled way, and a fear of heights. So you put a baby on this sort of glass top over an abyss, and they don't want to go on it. Although there's even research to suggest it's just the loud noise. So how have we developed all these beliefs? And it's the way we've been brought up. We've been conditioned, as you say. But the weird thing that happens, our beliefs and our filters make us believe that they are right. Therefore, until we consciously want to challenge them because we're realizing that, hey, I'm limiting myself in my life, or I'm not getting the outcomes I want in my life, we spend most of our waking days, and some would even say our sleep time, trying to justify and validate those beliefs. They're actually a whole lot of BS. As you know, there's a colleague of ours who talk about BS. That's a belief system, but they are BS. We've just learnt them. So you and I can quite consciously say, hey, you believing that you're not entitled to all these great goals, that just can't be right. But there's an unconscious part of her brain that's saying, well, it actually is absolutely right, because that's the way I have lived and kept you safe for whatever age she is, whatever years. So these are beliefs that we've developed, usually in our first 5 to 10 years of life. And then we live our life almost unconsciously. 95% plus of our behaviors, of what we do, what we think, happens unconsciously, because the brain wants to conserve energy. Why keep thinking hard about something when I've kept you safe by limiting you all this time? And that's the weird game, that when people confront themselves with that, they go, oh my God, no, enough's enough. I need to work this through and get out of this way of thinking, develop a more empowering set of beliefs. And that's where this lady will need to get to. So no surprise that she felt terrible, because what you've done with her is you've created dissonance for her. You've created like an internal chaos between what the two of you consciously spoke about, you brought to her awareness, and the unconscious belief that says, but no, I'm not entitled, or I'm not worthy, or I'm not able to have all these things. So now I've got chaos. What do I do with it? Most people shut down and just keep on doing what they've always done.
I think this is one of those cases, because a lot of people that I work with would, when they come to that point, they would either like usually open up to think, oh my God, this is amazing. Like, this is all the things that I can do. That is so amazing. But this is a case where, you know what? No, I'm going to shut down.
Yeah.
And I just don't even want to be told, or I don't even want to realize what is possible for me. And it's sort of sad from, from where I look, but, it's a journey that some people are on.
It's a journey that I think all of us are on. It's just a matter of how sharply the more empowering messages keep flying into our face. So for you, for example, putting this into this lady's face in your conversation really brought up the resistance, and come back to a little bit of it. And again, you and I know this, and we've talked a lot about it. Our mind, our brain, is designed to primarily prioritize two things in our life. And it's very primal. It goes way back to the days when we were running around, in caves and chasing wild beasts, and the first thing is it's designed to keep itself alive, just for survival. So why would it do anything that threatens its survival? Why would it incur pain? Now, in this day and age, we don't have to run away from the saber-toothed tiger or a big grizzly bear, but we have emotional pain. We have emotional and financial pain. We have mental anguish. And the brain's going, pain is not good for my survival. So I'm going to do something that keeps you relatively free of that pain. Let's not take that new risk. Let's not take that new opportunity, because if you fail, or even if you succeed, the pain and the anguish, if something went wrong, went differently, I won't allow you to have, because it's threatening my survival. The other thing the brain does is it's brilliant at energy conservation. So over 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, however old the person is, you've gone down the same patterns of behavior. Yeah, you hear people who've repeated the same relationship mistakes, the same business mistakes. It's like the pattern goes on. Everyone else can see it except them. But the brain has automated, said, I've kept you safe. We've gone down this pathway many times. Rather than making you work hard to develop new beliefs, let me just automate that and put it into your subconscious so you react in a nanosecond. So whenever you put something consciously that challenges that, in a nanosecond, every year of that person's life comes in like a tsunami going, whoa, no, I need to keep you safe. And I don't want to spend the energy developing a new belief right now, because I want to keep us safe and energy efficient. So let's just keep doing the same old, same old. So this is where people do the big seminars and they go to these motivational things and they go away, rah, rah, feeling fantastic. I'm going to make a difference. I'm going to change my life. I'm going to make a fortune. I'm going to have this business. And then maybe a few hours later, that dwindles down. Maybe a few days later, that dwindles down. Maybe weeks and months later. And what happens is the brain goes, no, we don't really want you doing all that because it's not safe. And this is where people need to make some very clear choices about how much of that do they want to move away from. And as you know, that's a lot of the work I do with people, is taking them on that journey. It's their journey, but I always say it's your journey alone, but do not journey alone. If you knew how to do it differently, you'd be doing it.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, one thing that you touched before was that you've seen a lot of people and you work with a lot of people who has done all the work that they possibly could and bought everything, houses, cars, you name it, and have all the money, and then towards the end, maybe even after retirement, they go, well, hang on, I don't have anything to show for it, and I'm not even happy. I don't even know what I did, right? Now,
Yeah.
one of the things that I work with my clients is that they are mostly in, like, high level careers or businesses,
Yes.
and they're not in that stage, and age wise they're not at that stage, but they are very starting early on. And it is very tricky for somebody like that to get to think about, okay, what fulfills you, because a lot of people are going at it, oh yeah, I need to make the money mindset, right?
Hmm.
And I think we are generationally, we are becoming more and more conscious of the fact, wait, hang on, let's not make the same mistakes that the previous generations have made. Let's be a little bit more conscious of it. But at the same time, people are hit with the reality, oh wait, I still got to pay the bills. I still got to pay the mortgage. I still got to take care of my kids. So at that point, a lot of people go, oh wait, no, you know what? I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. And you pretty much end up in the same place. So how would you go about advising or working with somebody like that who, yes, they understand they are in a miserable state, but these other things are in their way, that, or they're telling themselves that it's in their way, that they can't do anything about it, and it's not about fulfillment, it's about having the material things.
Yeah. And it's not just an age thing either. That applies to so many age groups of people. But before I get that, two things. One is, I think you're quite right. There is a generation of my kids' age group. What your age group? What are you guys? You're not middle aged,
30s.
eh?
You don't want to tell me my
No, I'm
yeah,
not going to tell
30s.
your age now. I know what it is.
Yeah.
So look, I'm at the tail end of the baby boomers. Remember, I'm the one who was told I'm about to enter my third trimester. you know,
Yes.
Fascinating. But
We
anyway,
got to have
so
another
my
session
kids'
on that
age.
one.
I am finding something interesting. I used to think that the people I best work with are generally in their late 40s, early 50s and above, where life has beaten them around a little bit, and then they have these wake-up calls. Yeah. It's like, I've done all these things, and then bang, what's going wrong? And then I've realized that I'm actually attracting and I'm finding a lot of younger people saying, no, I want this journey as well. But life hasn't done the same beating them up yet. Maybe a little bit. All right. So I'm generalizing here, obviously. And I think you're right. What's happening is that younger generations are looking at their parents, their significant, uh, I'll use the loose term of elders in their life as they've grown up, and going, my God, I don't want to wait until I'm your age before I work out what the hell I want in life and how I want to do life. I want this now. I don't want to be going through all the rubbish that you did and all the anxiety and depression and uncertainty. I want this now. And then they go on a journey, but they don't have as much life experience that's belted them to go, I've got to get away from this. It's time for a shift. But they are inspired by what they might want to work towards. And I think the mentality is a bit different. So how do they deal with the fact that they then get hit by, oh yeah, but I'm wanting to buy a house, I'm in a relationship, so maybe we've got kids, or I've got a car I want to do, I want holidays, I've got money, I've got to work, I've got to do these things, but I want all this other stuff. So a few things to recognize. Where did that whole pattern come from? From the very same people that they've looked at and said, I don't want to be like you. Because they learned this stuff, their story. You're hearing a lot of people these days talk about, what's your money story? It's simply about, what are your whole beliefs around money, around relationships, around you and work, whatever it might be. And usually they're negative. So because they've not necessarily had as much life experience challenge them with those stories, what these people have to start doing is work towards not, I can't do what I want because I've got all these other commitments of a mortgage, of, have to earn money and pay the bills. But it's like, I want this. How can I have this whilst I'm taking care of those other realities in my life? Because the realities are, you do need food to eat, to live. So you have to find money to buy food. You can't just manifest it out of thin air.
We
Sorry,
wish.
manifestors listening, but manifestation is fantasy unless you activate something to make it happen. But I think that the key is that if someone, regardless of age, is serious enough about stepping up into what I call their personal power and saying, hey, you know, I need a new map around how I transact this world. I need a new set of beliefs. I talk about highways, byways, and goat tracks. So the belief bases that are so unconscious are these really well-driven highways. We can drive them automatically. You don't even need to think about it. Someone puts a great opportunity in front of you and your go-to is, yeah, I'll just limit myself. And that happens in a nanosecond, rather than, why don't you jump on and take the risk? Oh, that needs energy. So that's a new goat track. That's a track that we haven't really gone down yet. So that's where you have to take some deliberate and maybe awkward stepping stones along that track. Because if it was natural for you, you'd already be doing it. This is learning. It's almost like we're having to do what our brain did when we were babies to little kids, develop new pathways and using it. That's why babies sleep so much, because they're in their first 5 to 7 years, kids sleep so much. They're using a lot of mental energy to work out their beliefs about how to be in life. They're developing their map of how to exist. This is about, can I develop a new map that takes into account some of the existing highways that have already served me? Does that metaphor make some sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I think it's about having both rather than one or the other. It's how can I work towards what I want, recognizing that I also have a job, I'm earning money, I have some commitments, I have some ambitions. And whereas for a lot of older people, it was not, we were stuck in the job, we're stuck in the relationship, we're stuck in the money pit trap, you know, beholden to the banks. I won't go down that path. A lot of people would say, but that's truth. But we make it truth by having a strong belief around it. So this is not getting rid of those beliefs. This is developing new and more life-empowering beliefs so that you then have choice. Well, if I have the choice of going down a pattern that I've developed, and it can take, you know, this is, what are our behaviors? They're beliefs that we have put into action, and those actions have been repeated, so they become habits, and habits are unconscious, and we demonstrate them in our behavior. So we're learning new ones, and it can take, in some cases, you know, 6 to 12 months to develop a new pattern until it becomes more automatic for you. And that's the journey that people need to be prepared to take. It's not go do a seminar and suddenly you'll change your life.
We talk a lot about this topic, and it's just so fulfilling because I think this is the basis of the work that we do as well. And a lot of people, you know, become very surprised when they hear the other sides of the type of coaching that you do, because a lot of people think that when they have a problem in their career or problem in their business, that it's actually a business or a career problem. But you and I both know that it's something much more bigger, and it's got to have a more holistic approach. Otherwise, it's going to be like a putting on a Band-Aid, right?
Very much. I mean, the career or the business problem, in big inverted commas, is nothing more than the context that that person has behaved their unconscious patterns within. Oh, that's an interesting sentence. I haven't put it quite like that, but you know what I'm saying? You know?
Yeah.
It's just a context.
Yeah.
And for a lot of people, it may well be about recognizing that in itself is not the reality. That's not causing you to be stuck. I'm stuck in this job because I have to pay my mortgage. No, I'm feeling that I need to do something more in my life, but I'm stuck with my self-limiting beliefs that says I have to keep doing what I'm not enjoying, otherwise I can't eat. You know, so it's just context.
Well, let's just say there is somebody who's, you know, listened to what we're talking about right now, and they haven't got that wake-up call yet, but they're keen to kind of know more about it, and they just want to know, okay, I wonder, how do I reach that level, or how do I get that? Is there something that people can do to get to that awakening?
I think there's a lot that people can do, but the first thing is recognizing, this is really critical. They cannot do it necessarily on their own. They do need support, guidance, coaching, mentoring, whatever. I'm not necessarily saying go and employ a coach. It might be you've got a family member who's just able to help guide you through this. And the reason I say that they need to do this with someone's support, balanced with some challenge to take them out of their normal belief-based comfort zone, is that old story. If they're recognizing that they want something different in their lives, they want something more fulfilling. There's an old adage in this whole personal development world. It's actually quite old. Some people think it's a new way of thinking. It's not. Everything you know and have done so far won't get you any further towards that. Otherwise, you already would have. And I think that's a really important point. Everything that you know and have done so far won't get you towards your ambitions and goals. Otherwise, it already would have. So what does that mean? That means you either need to learn some new things or put what you do know into practice in a very different way. And if you knew how to do that, and when I say new, I don't necessarily mean have the awareness and knowledge. It might be have the emotional sense of safety to do it as well, going out of your comfort zone. So the first thing is, I think people recognizing, that the world is full of, networks love talking about the big why. But the big why has a reason. What's the purpose? Why do you want more? What purpose does it serve for you to break out of what you're doing now? What is inspiring you about being more, being better? Dalai Lama says, what's wrong with you humans? You always want to achieve and strive things. Isn't it enough just to be a good person? And I think that's quite an interesting thing for people to consider when they're striving for more. But understand why. What is more in your life? What is different in your life? And the reason why becomes almost like the beacon that when all your self-limiting beliefs come in, and they will come in, flooding in like a tsunami, that you have a significant enough reason to say, this is why it's important I do it. A teacher and a mentor of mine, John Assaraf, often talks about some of his life stories, and he talks about being confronted by this very, very powerful question by a mentor of his as he was growing up. So he was talking about goal setting and so on. And this fellow, his name was John Smith, I believe. It was a very normal name. Just challenged him, and he was saying, so you've got these goals, you really want to achieve them. Are you interested in achieving these goals, or are you committed? And then he went on to say, if you're interested, you'll do whatever is convenient. If you're committed, in other words, your reason for it is strong enough, you'll do whatever it takes. I find that a very, very provocative and an empowering and challenging concept to sit with. For a lot of us, if we asked ourselves the question, am I just interested in pursuing whatever it is I want to pursue in my life, or am I committed? The difference being, am I doing what's convenient? And how do you know? You just look at your behavior. That's your simple measure. I want to achieve all these great things, but now I'm spending time going to I've met people. Yes, I want to achieve this big business, so I'm going to all these network sessions. Oh, good. And what are you doing? Oh, I'm enjoying meeting people. What are you doing about you growing your business? I'm meeting all these people. But what are you doing about growing your business? I'm finding more Facebook network groups and joining them. But what are you doing? So it's like you're doing what keeps you safe, what keeps you playing small, because it's kept you safe all this time. So why would your brain do otherwise?
Yeah.
I think it's really important that someone has the right resources around them. You need your reason why. It's got to be strong enough. And that changes. So it's not a constant in life. Like people talk about work to your passion. Well, I've got multi things I'm passionate about, not just one thing. Yes, I know it's easy to turn around and say, but if you boil a lot of your passions down, it's about making a difference in the world. That's a lovely high-level phrase. But, we all have different passions in life, and our sense of passion and purpose shifts as we have life experience. And so it should. but know why it's important enough. And the reason will be very selfish, as in for you, for me. It's what I want. And yet, why do a lot of people not even look at their purpose? Because we also have a belief system, unconscious, that says, oh, it's wrong to think about just stuff for yourself. You should be there for others, be of service. But it starts with being true to yourself. So the inner truth is critical. The next thing is where you need to develop the skills and the knowledge base that is lacking. So if you want to improve, you want to change things in your life, you need to find out about how to do that. Then you need to be with the right people. If you have a look at a lot of people that you're coaching, perhaps, and a lot of people I work with and coach, what keeps them safe is hanging around the people that are not going to challenge them to go that next step. You're going to give them good reasons. Oh, it's a bit difficult. Look, take 2 aspirins and you'll get over it. It'll be okay. So there's the old thing of, you are the average of in terms of behavior and mindset and wealth and so on, you are the average of the 5 people you spend most of your time with. And I used to laugh at that. And then I look at it and go, it's damn well true. Spend some time with people who will give you the right platform to challenge your belief base and start to not just challenge it, but develop some new ones, because you're with people who are living a different way, being in a different way, and then have someone who can guide you through it. So I think there's some of the key steps. Have a very clear focus as to why is this important for me? And it may well be because it means I don't have certain things happening in my life anymore that I've had enough of, or I will have things in my life that I haven't had yet and I really crave. Doesn't really matter which direction you come from. Know why it's important. Pick up the right skills, pick up the right resources where need be. Invest in yourself, in other words, to do that. Take the time. This is deliberate practice. You want to learn a new hobby, for example, you can't just sit there imagining the hobby. You need to learn about it. You need to maybe buy some or acquire some resources to do it. And then perhaps you need someone to help you learn how to put those resources into play. And I think that trilogy of things, the mindset about where it's important, the resources or the skills or the knowledge to give you the next stage, and then the people around you that will give you the challenge and support in balance and take you along that journey with you while you're doing it. That, I think, is the secret to it. And it takes time, and it's worth it. And we all have time, the same time. So there's a lovely word that everyone's banding around these days, procrastination. So what is that thing called procrastination? It's an avoidance of something that you have, an unconscious usually, but not necessarily, fear of. So a lot of this is about recognizing that your procrastination is actually your brain saying, I want to keep you safe. So, I don't want you to be hurt here. I don't want you to fail and feel humiliated, because that's painful and that's not good for my survival. I don't want you to feel anxious and stressed because this is too big a goal for you. See, a lot of people have these massive goals. One of the things I do is I talk to them about, let's break those goals right down to their minutiae until you're in your head and heart with a little bit of challenge. You need to find that sweet spot between being uncertain and fearful and being super excited. So let's get to that point where your brain goes, yeah, challenging, but I can do this. Most people's goal setting and focus in life is, I want to change all these huge things in my life. And it sounds great when you're at the right motivational seminar, until you get home and your so-called reality has just continued and you're back in it and you go, oh, I want to do all this, but I've got this reality. I think I'll just stay with my reality. So I think that the need to actually get to that point, that find that sweet spot between fear and overexcitement is really critical. And one of the ways to do that is to have steps, next steps. You know, you and I often talk about next steps. A lot of people don't know where to start. They think they have to take these big leaps. I want to become a multimillionaire. Great. What's your first step? Well, I can't do anything. I'm stuck in this job. I can't save more. Okay. And it might be, you might break that right down to, oh, okay. So every morning, I was talking to somebody about this the other day. This was their very thing. You know, they want more wealth in their life so that they feel a bit freer. So what does every morning for them look like? They work in the city. They arrive in the city. They go to their favorite coffee shop. They buy a muffin and a coffee. And they sit and they have that. $10 a day by 5 days, $50 a day, $200 a month, $2,400 a year. So if I said to them, would you like to save $2,400? Yeah, have your coffee at home and a nice breakfast. Now, it's a small step. And then they say, but I want to be this multimillionaire. So, okay, start with a step that your brain says, I can do that and still feel safe. Next steps are so critical. So, you know, as you know, a lot of the sort of work that I do and the work that you're doing with people is around, let's get people down to this point where there's momentum. And even if it's minor, tiny steps, what's happening in their head and heart is, hey, I'm at least making some progress rather than being stagnant and procrastinating. The next breath and the next step is more critical than the fear that's going to stop you. You just need to work through that next step that your brain says, yes, I can do this. Yes, I can. Yes, I will. Yes, I am. You know, rather than, oh, yeah, it sounds good, but as soon as you've got the but in your head and heart, you and I know that person is not going to take that action.
That's really key that you mentioned that, because this is actually one of the things that I've spoken to a few of my clients as well, which is about vision boarding. Vision boarding is very, very big, and people do retreats on vision boarding and how to do them. And I know some of my clients who've been to like big retreats to do vision boarding, and it's just not right, in the sense like a lot of these vision boards have these like visions that they have put down that is like 20 years away. And my thing is that, okay, let's not go that far. Let's get you some quick wins. Let's get your brain to think you are a winner. Let's get some small things down on the vision board and let's get you winning. And then let's go for the big things. Because otherwise what happens is, quite often when you look at your vision board, you feel like a complete loser every day because it's so far away.
Yeah. And all that will do is reinforce the I'm a loser.
Yes,
whatever
exactly.
their version of I'm not good enough is. However, I'll just add something to that, Vindia. I actually do like the concept, well, not the practice of vision boarding. Not necessarily doing a physical one. It can be online, it can be virtual, something. The reason for that is that when you do the quick wins with somebody, which is absolutely, this is my version, your version of that, the quick wins. My version is get to the point where the brain says, yes, I can. I call it yick. Yes, I can do that step. When people see what that step is, maybe 20 steps apart from it, but where that step is aligned with the thing on the vision board, that actually drives a sense of purpose. So I think it's important from that point of view, because it gives people, I'm doing this small, I'm giving up sitting down, having this muffin and this coffee and spending $10 a day, because it's aligned with me having more cash flow, which is then aligned with me having the ability to purchase or own and buy or do these things that's on my vision board. So the reason drives it. And they need to understand the connection with the little micro steps with the bigger vision, because not if, but when the self-limiting beliefs, which are very unconscious, come streaming in a nanosecond, the tsunami of limitation, that's the one thing that's going to help them go, no, but I can still take this small step, because the brain has made you're actually using a different part of your brain, a more creative part of your brain when you're activating it that way.
Mm.
So this is about making sure that there's an alignment, because what's happening is people setting up a vision board. So without the steps down, you're setting something up that is misaligned with their unconscious beliefs. Any wonder people get stuck.
Absolutely.
But the steps become the little bridges between, I've got this unconscious belief that says money's hard to come by. Healthy relationships are not something that are good for me because, I was brought up just to be the one who's been used and abused by everybody, whatever it might be. We've all got, as I said, our version of those stories. But when you have little steps that your brain has said, I can do those, then the self-sabotage comes in, that is misaligned. You go, yeah, that's okay, but I can still deliberately decide, conscious choice, not react due to my unconscious belief, consciously choose to just not have that coffee today. And that's today. Tomorrow's another day. Maybe I make that same choice again. The day after is another day. Maybe I make that same choice again. I can do that. But if it's about start making money, set up a business, that's just so big. The unconscious beliefs are going to win every single time. It's like a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde in our brain. There's a part of our brain that's that nasty. It's always going to find the reasons why not and get in the way. Then there's the creative genius part, the Mr. Hyde. And we need to be able to take control over both of them. That's where the really beautiful work with people who are wanting to unleash that part of it's called the genius part of the brain. You need a clear goal to articulate. You need strategies to execute it. You need to look at the habits that have dominated your life and go, hey, I need to develop some new ones in light of those that have dominated your life until this very decisive moment.
Lawry, I would like to just keep you and talk for a lot long, as we normally do. We never stick to our time. We always go over,
No, we
right? So I'm
don't.
just gonna we never know how to do that. But I just want to switch gears into speaking a little bit about your journey and how things have been. So you have had your own ups and downs in your career, personal life as well. What
Yeah.
would you say is the best advice and the worst advice you've been given?
Without really thinking too hard, let me just go with just my gut reaction. Some of the best, maybe the advice isn't the right word, the best, whatever the word is, yeah, for me has been create moments where I can tune into myself and really listen to what's resonating. What I mean by that is take even like I do a lot of meditation, as you know, and I run a lot of meditation for people. And it's not about the woo-woo, let's be spiritual and be on a mountaintop for 30 days and see what we've done in the world. This is about creating inner calm so I can become more aware of what is feeling right and not right for me. So if you like, it's like following my instinct, following my gut, my intuition. That has been some of the best advice, because when I think back over my life, the few times where I have literally acted in accordance with my intuition have in fact been to the extent have been life-saving. I won't go into them, but I can, because that's a big story. I can remember when I was a kid, I was probably 10 years old. I just had a gut feel that something wasn't right in a particular context I was in, and I literally took myself out of it. I probably wouldn't have been here today if I followed my conscious mind to go, no, I'm going to have fun with this and just see where it goes. I wouldn't have been here. I'd have been 6 foot under. So learning to take the time to tune into what resonates. I call it my intuition and instinct. The worst advice, son, get good results at school. Son, make sure that you get enough results to go to uni, get a good job, buy a house, pay it off. And the unspoken words there were, and then retire and die. Worst advice, to stay in a pattern that has been generational. How's that?
I think a lot of people needed to hear that. Both of them.
Now,
Yeah.
I'll say that, by the way, with a proviso, with a condition, recognizing that was the way I was brought up, and I know a lot of us have been. It's almost like And the intention was not to keep me closed in and small. It was to actually give me a good life as far as my parents were concerned.
Absolutely.
So the intention was different to the way I created a belief system around that. And that's been my battle and my challenge for decades, as I know a lot of others have got, in their own way.
Yeah, that's I think the key thing to remember, because every advice that we have been given, it came from a place of, I want to keep you safe, and I want to make sure that the best comes to you. But the best way, whoever gave you the advice, the best thing that they thought was possible, or the best that they thought they could give
Yeah.
you.
Oh, yes. I think for most people, most of the time, that is absolutely the case. It's come from a space of love and positive intention. So this is the distinction between behavior and intention.
If you could go back to the beginning of your journey, what would you change about how you did things?
This sounds a bit philosophical. Absolutely nothing. But I'll tell you why. I know that when I'm with people, when I work with people, if I hadn't have been through my own turmoil and my own dealing with my own demons, if you like I had a happy childhood. It's not that I went through abuse or anything like that. I had a good childhood, had a good family, still do, great family life. So all the turmoils that I went through were self-inflicted, and I got smarter at making bigger turmoils as I got older. However, what it's given me now, because I have developed over some time a deeper appreciation and awareness of all that, it's given me a deep, deep, deep insight just into my own sense of humanity, such that when I work with other people, either professionally or personally, it's not necessarily about job, but when I'm helping someone on their journey, the connection that I can make with them, because I've actually done a lot of my own dealing with stuff, it has opened me up to be so relatively free. I won't say completely free. I don't think that's human or possible, but my judgment of them just goes by the by. I can engage with them. My story is not the same as theirs. I will never profess to fully understand another person's experience, but I have some parallels that say, I've been through my own version. You hear me use this language a lot. I've been through my version, and I'm still going through my version of your story. If we were walking together for a while, be it a coaching relationship or a therapeutic relationship or just a friendship, then knowing that we both have some stories that are powerful is critical for me. So I've learned to love the stuff in my life that I've hated. I've learned to love the shadow side. Every now and then I go back to hate. I'm using two very strong words, but will I change it? No, because it's shown me an insight and given me an awareness that I wouldn't have had today. I couldn't do what I do today the way I do it without those experiences. And I'll say I do battle with that from time to time as well. So it's a coexistence, as you know, the shadow light side, if you want, yin yang.
Yeah, of course. Having been through the entire journey that you've been through, what is number one thing that you have learned about yourself?
I can take myself to this state. I love myself enough to simply be who I am, even with all the four-letter word stuff I've been through and the stuff I'll probably create in the future. I am actually enough. Something I've learned and I've shared with a lot of people is that, all I have to offer the world, it's not my skills, my training, my experience. Well, it is my experience. It's who I am. Maybe with a framework of some of the training I've done and the education. But all I have to offer you and anyone else in a work relationship, in a personal relationship, in a romantic relationship, in a friendship, and whatever, is me. That's all I've got. And it's damn well enough. Full stop.
I think that's going to be pretty powerful for a lot of people listening to us, because I think that's a realization that a lot of people would come to and need to come to as well. And when you do, I think a lot of things shift.
A lot of things shift. And as I say, it's not a constant state for me. I don't think I know any human where that's a constant state. I'm not quite sure how that would be, to be honest. But I do know that by having experienced that state, when I'm out of it, how do I know I'm so out of it? Is because I've actually experienced it. And I just crave getting back to that. And I know that I don't think there's a single person that I connect with who deep down don't want to be in that state more often, deeper, and for longer periods of time. Not forever. We need the shadow and the light. You show me something that exists without shadow and light in life, and you'll show me a fantasy. So we need the enough just as much as we need the out of enough, where I am worthless, hopeless, helpless. You fill in your words for your life, and everybody else listening fill in your words. And the flip side is enough. Self-love. It's a word that in the corporate world, we wouldn't have dared use. That's exactly what it is. Now, I have no hesitation using that. I don't care who the group is. This is about, do you love yourself enough to simply allow yourself to be? And then you walk away and you let them ponder that one.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, before I let you go, I just want to ask you about this, because I know you've got this really exciting program coming out. I also want to ask you about the group. So I won't say anything. I'll let you speak to them about your work.
I set up a group by accident, a Facebook group. I call Facebook the devil's instrument. I struggle with it, as you well know. I set up a closed group, probably 6 months ago, 8 months ago, where I was offering people just some insight into meditation. And it's evolved a little bit. We've got almost 200 members there. We've done nothing to really advertise and promote it other than just organic growth. And maybe we will do something with that. It's a closed group where at the moment there are 3 things that people can do on it. There's a 30-day meditation challenge on it. So people who want to experience meditation with a few changes in it, my style, you can go and challenge yourself for 30 days. But we've also been going, today we're up to day 146 of going live every morning with a group of whoever wants to tune in. We go live on Facebook. We have a little bit of a chat about how things are going and what meditation does to our brain, to our neurology. So one of the key things with this is that we're using meditation in a short way to connect with self, to connect with presence, also doing a lot of gratitude work within it, which is a heart space. And we're also doing some visualization and intention setting. So we're setting people up with the brain part, the unconscious part of the brain cannot tell the difference between what is real and imagined. And a lot of people don't recognize that. You think about it though. So we're actually doing all of that in the meditation, then activating it. So why do we do this? We do this because this is where people start to tune into some of their basic beliefs, the stuff we've spent the last probably hour or so talking about. Meditation is one of the most ancient of tools and practices to help us tune in, and rather than be victim of reacting to the stimulus in our world based on our unconscious beliefs, to actually take the time to choose our response. So there's a lot that's going on with people who've been playing with our meditations in Zen Frog and Friends. The group's called Zen Frog and Friends. So you can probably put the link there for people. Come along and just join us and have a bit of fun with it. And I don't know what our next iteration will be. One thing that's been interesting, and a lot of people have really appreciated understanding not only a little bit about meditation. So like I said, we're not gurus. No prior experience as a monk is required to join us. Far from it. We're not monk-like in any way. We just have a bit of fun with it. But a lot of people have really appreciated deepening their understanding of some of the science behind this practice, this practice that can almost be a bit ethereal. So a course I'm running online in about a month's time is called Meditation Deconstructed, where we're literally going to deconstruct and have a look at some of the science behind it. And why this is important is it helps you understand how we have developed a lot of our belief bases. And if we want to shift some of our habits in life, how meditation can be one of the most critical, I call it as one of life's essential life skills. I think we now understand so much more about how our neurology works, our brain works, to say this is stuff that should be taught in schools, not just meditation, but the science behind it. Understand what is driving how you and I behave. So when you understand it, you've got more information on which to base your next lot of actions about, so how do I want to improve or change so I can have a more fulfilling life, so I can have a more purposeful life and make a difference. When I understand what I'm doing in my brain, I've got something to work with. So the next program is Meditation Deconstructed. We're going to pull it apart, and it's a primer into the science behind what I think is one of the most crucial life skills.
I will make sure that I put all the links in the show notes, so then our folks can go and check it out.
Yep.
Now,
just be aware before you go on, Zen Frog and Friends, it's completely free. You just need to apply to join in, just the usual Facebook. Meditation Deconstructed, we've made the investment in that fairly cheap so that a lot of people can access it. So you don't have to take out a second mortgage and bring up all those money story fears and beliefs.
Where else can people find you if they want to get in touch with you?
Yep. At the moment, we're in the process of redoing a whole lot of web presence, but you can certainly find me on Facebook, The Devil's Instrument. Simply go to Lawry Scandar and you'll find my business page there. So I guess if you're putting this down, you can spell my name for people. When the website is properly up and running, because the current website of our business, which is Osiris Group, is fairly old. So again, it'll be lawryscandar.com. And that is a website in progress. The goal there is to offer people a lot of access to some of the more up-to-date information. By the way, a lot of the stuff I'm talking about with the brain and neurology, the research we're talking about is only recent. It's 5 to 8 years old. And there's even new stuff coming out now that is shifting the research of the last 5 years. It's just fascinating. The more we learn, if you want to connect with this stuff, I love the science behind our behavior because it helps a lot of people to make sense of it and gives you a platform to work with. So lawryscandar.com, it's a website in progress, so please just bear with that, or Lawry Scandar, the Facebook page.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Lawry, for coming on the show. It was lovely having you, and it was a great chat.
Lindia, thank you for the opportunity and putting up with my ramblings. I really appreciate it. So, for someone who's in their third trimester, not yet, almost.
We should talk more about that. Maybe another session.
Oh, why not? That'd be great. Thank you.
Well, folks, that is our episode for today. I hope you guys had lots of fun and got lots out of it. As always, go check out the show notes for the podcast. I have mentioned all the key points that we talked about, and also I have put down Lawry's information. And make sure that you go and join Zen Frog and Friends community. I am a part of it, and it is so much fun. And it is free, so why not? Just go and join, because you would have a great experience with him. When you spend just an hour with him, you would feel the difference, and I speak from experience when I say that. And also make sure that you sign up for this upcoming Meditation Deconstructed program. That is, again, going to be next level as well. Just get involved somehow, because Lawry does a lot of information sessions, lot of live sessions, periodical one that he wouldn't even tell you prior in advance, because he would just loves throwing a lot of stuff out there. So make sure you go and sign up, and again, go check out the show notes. And if you like this episode, just hit a like or share with anyone that you know, and I will catch you next time. So until the next episode, keep at it in your extraordinary journey.